All right, welcome back to the Saloon. I am your boy Wrangler, and today we are going over the Swigo.gg insights information for the current season, season 65. Let me show you why. All right, so we're going to go over some of the top defensive teams in this 3v3 season. New Datacrons, Lord Vader and his clones are out. That's changed things in a big way. But also some of the counters. And we're doing this because if we look at my GAC history, I'm not the best player in the world. I shoot like 55%, so just a little bit better than halfway. But normally I'm shooting like 60% in 3v3s, and I'm going to be down in the 40s this season. It seems that the meta has shifted to a more defensive variant where you need a lot of the same teams to beat some of these really heavy defensive walls. And while I'm full clearing, all of these scores that you're seeing down here, they're all full clears, but I'm losing between 100 points and 10 points most matches. And I'm telling you a little secret for this last event that just finished right after or right before this recording. I went 1-2 again. So not only are things getting worse, but I'm getting worse every week. So I wanted to find out why. So I jumped into the insight data, and I'd like to share some of my findings. Hopefully it'll help you set either a better defensive board, if that's your style, or maybe plan out your offense a little bit better, knowing that you need some of these big teams for a couple different variations. All right. So I broke this down into varsity and junior varsity. The varsity teams are anything with a 30% or higher hold rate this season. We're looking at Datacrons, so everybody's relict. We are looking at some of the focus Datacron teams as well, and that's kind of mixed things up a little bit. So the elephant in the room, or the gorilla in the room, however you want to define it, is the Lord Vader with his dark side clones. If you're facing a whale who has got CX2 and Apo up into relics already with that Apocron, that is looking at a 70% hold rate so far over the past 3 weeks of data. Now, the data is kind of filtering in from this last week that just finished, so these numbers aren't going to be perfect, but they're a pretty good representation of what's been happening. If you take CX2 out, as you can see in those numbers over there, over here, right there. If you take CX2 out, these numbers drop in hold rates quite a bit, but they're still in the junior varsity and varsity range. Everything down from Piet and Thrawn with Apo in the 20% range, up into Darth Vader and Ninth Sister and Royal Guard, all of which increase the difficulty of beating this team by 10 to 14%. But the big one is having CX2 in there. You have CX2, this is a tough team. We'll get over some counters, but that's the number one playa in the defensive board this season. Then we drop down into the Rey Ben Ezra component variant, and that is 42%, so still really hard to get through. And then if you drop Ezra Exile out and look at all these other variants, it's kind of funny. Hoda and Santa and JTR hold better than like Nest or Cal Kestis or Sortie, all of which either have or had Datacrons in this set or the last set. So that Hoda variant is interesting at 28%, almost into the varsity team category here with real no focus Datacron or Datacron set that would support that. Anyway, the Saw team, holy cow. If you watch Vexatron, he goes crazy on this team. I also get beat a lot by this team because I underestimate it. I'm not thinking about the new Rebel Fighter Datacrons, the Luthen Cron, the Saw Cron, the Kyle Cron, if you've got that. And it is a 42% rate if Drogon's in there, which isn't very common. Normally Drogon is with Leia, but still, if you see this, be careful. This is a tough team to beat. The Bodhi-Cron, surprisingly enough, is stepping up at the top variant outside of Drogon, with Captain Rex and Cara, Baze, and Kyle all falling below that, somewhere between 19 and 25% hold rates. Still pretty darn good. If your opponent is a mad lad and they set Slacker with Dark Vision Rey on defense, the Crew and the Hux and the Faust variants all shoot somewhere between 24 and 35%. Bo-Katan Mandalore is making a resurgence on defense with anywhere between 26 and 34% based on who you have in there. Ban is the best with the Bamcron, but IG-12 and Paz not too shabby either. Leia, Drogon, and Captain Rex, or R2-D2, shooting right around 30%, 29 to 33 based on who you're looking at. Mon Mothma with Captain Rex and Luthen is up at a 30%. Although we're not seeing as many Mon Mothmas as Saws on defense, Mon Mothma is typically used more a little bit on offense. But with the Kyle and Kara variants, you're still shooting right around that 21, 22%. But put Captain Rex in there, and this gets way more dangerous, up at 30% hold rate. And then Traya, always a staple on defense, but not seen very often because of how good she is on offense. But on defense, with the new Talon Kron, Darth Talon, 30% hold rate, similar to your Mon Mothma Captain Rex teams, with, of course, Savage in there to tank it out. But also the Nyla Scion, with the Scion Datacron variant, is up at 25%, and Savage Nihilus is at 24%. So that kind of wraps up your varsity teams. If you guys want a screenshot of this and start building your board with some of these teams on there, you might find yourself holding a little bit stronger this season than in prior ones. Okay, if we jump into the JV teams, these are anybody who shoots at a 20 to 29% hold rate. And what we're looking at is the Ahsoka or General Syndulla-led Ezra teams. Kind of funny that General Syndulla is better than Ahsoka in the hold rates, probably because we're underestimating the General Syndulla team a little bit, but sometimes you see some funny stats in insights, and this is one of them. Sana Rolo and St. Han is holding strong at 26%, with her other variants of the Sonachron, that is, going from 20 to 22%. Iden is making a resurgence on defense this season, with the Death Trooper Scout holding at 26, but all these other Imperial Trooper variants down between 20 and 24%, not too bad. Great Mothers, Death Trooper Peridia, and Morden at 25%, with some other Night Sister variants underneath that from 20 to 24%. Jabba is way down here at 23%. I'm pretty sure that's due to the Dr. Afracron, the Focus Datacron, that makes the Jabba fight pretty simple. Not terrible with just Dr. Afra without her Focus Datacron, but I think that Focused Cron is really coming into play here. Only at 23% for the Jabba teams. Embo and Mob Enforcer down even lower at 21%. Here is Dr. Afra with her Focus Datacron holding at 23% if you have it. If you don't have that, you can target Afra with Han Chewie, any of the leaders that you want to put in there, and you will knock this team out. But with the Focus Datacron, changing things up a little bit. Another variant of the Scoundrel Crons is this Bam, Dash, and Sana team at 23%. A little bit better than if you have Hondo in there at 22, but still, negligible, 1% difference there. Basti, JML, and Watt with the Watt Cron coming in at 23%. And then you have your Sith Empire teams anywhere between 20 and 22% for this. Trench and Django and Watt with the Watt Cron coming in at 21%. So Trench is off the bench. Still not a great team, but not terrible. And then his Separatist brethren down here with Grievous, B1 Battle Droid, and Droidica, 22%. Slightly worse if you take B1 out and put Stap in at 20%. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the Separatists. And then to round out your JV teams, we have a mix of things. Again, weird, right? If you don't have Fennec, or if you don't want to run Boba Fett Scion of Django, this Besage terminology for him, you can stick him in with the other Tuskens with Chieftain and Warrior and still get about a 21% hold rate. You can use Seer Malicos with the UFU of your choice for about 20%. DTMG, the Mandalorian team, and the Kelleran team without Jocasta Nu, still at 20% for hold rates there. So there's your JVs. And again, this is out of just Season 65. All the Datacrons are active. And in general, I was looking for teams with 100 battles at the minimum, just so we can get a good representative data set. If you start getting into the single digits or even the teens, you get all kinds of weird stuff. So I didn't want to cover that today. All right, if we look at the gorilla on the block, the elephant in the room, Lord Vader and his clones, when I pulled this data just about half an hour ago, there were 5 instances of one-shotting this team so far. Datacrons are active. The defensive teams, I said at least R1, although if you're going to have CX2 into relics, probably going to be higher than R1, but I just wanted to set some kind of a floor there and just weed out the non-7-star, non-relict CX2 variants. Most commonly, people are double-shotting this team right now, so you put JMK in there, and Kat does her Force Leap onto Apo, get him out of there. You're probably going to lose the rest of your team, but then you can clean it up with either the Super Seer team, Bo-Katan Mandalore, Bane, and a Sith of your choice. Any of the Leia teams, the JML teams, or the SLKR teams can clean up just Lord Vader and CX2 once Apo is out of there. Here are the teams that I saw on the data in Insights. Your 100% one-shots, so you got them down in one time, no problem, was the Lord Vader, Piet, and Apo team with the Apo Kron. Or if you had the Darkside clones with Lord Vader, you can also win that mirror. You can also, this is interesting, I saw this before when I was running data this morning until I pulled it again to get more updated stats. Somebody pulled off a Lord Vader Bane combo with a BT1 Datacron. Interesting, right? But then you've also got C with Watt and Bane, so you kind of invalidate the rule of 2, but you get the Watt stats in there. And then one person was able to knock out this Lord Vader Darkside clones with SLKR, Darkside Vision Ray, and First Order Officer. If you want to be a little bit riskier, these teams here in the yellow column, they were able to one-shot, but only at a 50 to 61% rate. So you've got your Seer Super team, SLKR, Leia, Ahsoka with Ezra, and the Rey Ben Ezra at your lowest at a 50% win rate. So you could try those. This data will get better as the seasons go by and as Datacrons fall off, but this is what we have so far. So if you see one of these Lord Vader clone teams on defense, you can try one of these if you've got them available, or you can two-shot it with JMK. That seems to be a little bit more reliable at this time. All right, here are your other varsity teams in order of the high hold rates in those high 30s or 40s, coming down into the low 30s in the next slide. So for Rey, Ben, and Ezra, your mirror is an 80% win rate, the most consistent. Leia is about 74%, Slacker Darkside Visions is about 70%, and then there were a couple instances in low digits with this kind of combo team using GBA so that your tank can keep reviving and Hux's passing turns to Slacker. 95% win rate, pretty good, but not many instances. So if you're in a pinch and you want to try it, or you don't have Darkside Vision Ray, maybe this is the option you go with. For that Saw nasty team with Drogon and Luthen, you can knock it out of the park 100% of the time with these teams here. JMK, Slacker, Seer Super Team, Boba Fett Sign of Jango and Fennec with the Kron, or a Bane and Sith if you're choosing. If you want to be a little bit riskier, you can try Balin or Leia. Interesting that Leia is way down here at 80%, but the numbers are what they are. If you are a mad lad and you're putting Slacker on defense, this is why. There's not a lot that take it out at a 70% or better rate, which is kind of the cutoff I set for these teams. 82% for the mirror, or you can use Bane and a Sith of your choice, anywhere between 82 and 94% based on that second Sith. But what you'll notice is, like, Bane is wanted to be used on all of these counters, so be careful where you use them. But if Slacker's on there, not a lot to take him out still. Bo-Katan Mandalore, if you put her on defense, again, 100% win rates with C and Watt or with Leia. You can use Jabba at a 90% rate, Traya at 96, Starkiller at 84, or you can try JML, the other GL in this list, at 75%. So again, a lot of the same teams on these top 4 varsity defensive teams that you're going to be needing on offense, so plan accordingly. If we look at the last 3 teams in the varsity tier list, Leia and Drogon, again, you're looking at C. Bane, big boy team here for 93%, Slacker with Darkside Vision Ray at 92%, Bane with a Sith of your choice, drops down into that 75% range, or Leia, the mirror match, at 71%. A lot of people were trying this Leia. Most of the battles were there, and not super consistent, so be careful. Mon Mothma and Luthen teams, there's a lot of things that beat that at relatively high rates. Dr. Aphra is the lowest, even with Okran at 73%, and then it's all 90% for these others. We've got J&K in there, Reva Inquisitors, you've got the Bo-Katan Mandalore team, and Balin at the 96-97%, and Traya at 94%. So not too bad. If you do see Traya with her relative Sith variants on defense, you can again go in with CWAT at 100%, JMK at 100%, Leia at 100%, or you can drop down and use the JML teams or the Malgus Sith Empire, probably the cheapest on this list, down at 86 and 76% respectively. So there are your big hitters for this season, the big 30% hold rate or better teams. If we go back to this list here, and you need a lot of the same big teams to counter them. So either set a really strong D with your varsity and JV teams and watch your opponent struggle, kind of like I have, and not win a whole lot, or keep some of these teams on offense and go more for efficiency and maybe just use these varsity teams to set up your wall. That is what I have for you tonight. So, looking back at the Swigo.gg data, the insight data, the premium version of the stats that I pulled, give you a little bit more information on who to attack and when and where to put them on your board. There's even a zone category on that insight tool, which is kind of cool. So it'll show you your hold rates, whether you're putting Lord Vader, Apo, and CX2 on the front bottom wall or top wall, or Zone 2 South, the hidden wall, and seeing how those hold rates differ. So a lot of good information in there. Not a lot of people have access to insights that are putting out content. I've seen Vexatron do it, I've seen Sanjita do it, and you can pick it up in streams with Arnold and with Zareth. They go over their insight data every now and again when they're looking at counters. If there is a counter that you guys are looking for and you're really struggling, let me know. Put it in the comments below. I'd be happy to look it up on Insights for you and give you the top 3 to 5 counters and their percentages for that particular team. Helpful for me. I'm looking forward to using this going into the future. I hope it helps you. All right, guys, that's all I have for you tonight. Be good out there. If you can't be good, don't get caught. We'll see you next time.